This is Dipesh Bhagat, a lecturer of English, Mainland College, Viratnagar, Nepal. I welcome you all to my YouTube channel. Today I am going to describe, summarize and simplify a supernatural story retold by Arlo T. Janison. This story is entitled The House Girl, and as I told, it is a supernatural story. So what is supernatural story? Supernatural story is a story in which we find supernatural themes. Supernatural means beyond our understanding, beyond the understanding of normal world. Now without delay, let us move to the characters of the story. The major characters you can see, you can notice on the board mentioned here. The first major character is Dr. Emil Brown. Dr. Emil Brown is a famous surgeon in the city of Berlin. Berlin, you know, is the capital city of Germany. Second major character is Elda. Elda is a middle-aged woman, a lady suffering from pneumonia, and she is also familiar with Dr. Brown. Next character is Adelheid. Adelheid is a spirit, a soul you can say, a ghost you can say, who is already dead. She is the daughter of Elda and she appears in the story. She goes to Dr. Brown's home to call him for her sick mother. Her mother Elda is seriously ill. She is dying of illness. Actually, she is suffering from pneumonia. So the story highlights the intense love of a daughter for her mother, who is ready to help her mother even after her death. When she comes to know that her mother is ill, seriously ill, suffering from pneumonia, and is all alone, she needs the help of a doctor. She appears. The spirit of dead daughter, Adelheid, appears and goes to Dr. Brown's home to call him, to request him for the treatment of her sick mother. This is how the intense love of a daughter is highlighted, is shown in the story. Now, let us move to the events of the story. Now I am going to start the story. Here, as I told, the events of the story took place in the capital city of Germany, that is Berlin. It was 26 December of 1903, 26 December, because day after Christmas. 26 December is day after Christmas. So the events of the story took place on the day after Christmas of 1903 at 9:30 in the evening. The time was 9:30 in the evening. Dr. Emil Brown, a famous surgeon in the hospital of Berlin, he was very busy on that day. He was very busy on that day operating the patients and supervising several major operations because he was a senior surgeon. So he had to supervise his junior doctors, junior surgeons. So he was very busy that day. And therefore, Dr. Brown was very tired and exhausted. The story begins with the dining table. Dr. Brown is sitting at his dining table. The dinner is ready. He is trying to eat his dinner and write something, some records, the events of the day in his diary. It was the habit of Dr. Brown to write, to note down the important events in his diary. So Dr. Brown was trying to eat his dinner and write his diary. But because of the tiredness, because of the extreme exhaustion, he was able to do neither of them. Means he could not write his diary, nor could he eat his dinner. And soon he fell asleep at the dining table. He couldn't even go to his bedroom. He fell asleep at the dining table, keeping his head on his hand, and all of a sudden he woke up by a doorbell ring. A doorbell ring woke him up. When he woke up, he heard a sound. He heard the voice of his wife. Dr. Brown heard his wife utter a sentence. The doctor is resting now. Is it all right if he goes to see your mother tomorrow morning? The next moment he heard the voice of a little girl. She was requesting. She was telling Mrs. Brown that her mother was very, very serious. She was very, very ill, and she immediately needed the help of the doctor. After hearing this, Dr. Brown went near the door. As he went near the door in the semi-darkness, he saw a little girl of 6 or 7. She was poorly dressed. She was wearing cotton clothes and rag shawl, shabby shoes. Poorly dressed girl of 6 or 7. When Dr. Brown looked at her, he felt pity and he asked her, "Where is your mother? Where is your house?" In response to Dr. Brown's question, the little girl smiled weakly and said, "Come with me, I will show you. It's not very far." Dr. Brown was helped by his wife to put on his coat, and his wife also tried to stop him. She told him, "It is night, you are tired, and you consider about your health also. You are not young now." Dr. Brown was already 67. Yes, so his wife tried to stop him, but Dr. Brown replied her, "I do whatever God puts in front of me, and now God wants me to make a house call." It means Dr. Brown is a religious minded person. He believes on God. He has faith on God. Ignoring the request of his wife, Dr. Brown put on his hat, carried his bag, and went out in the dark night. It was raining lightly, and the little girl was already waiting for him. When she noticed that Dr. Brown was following her, she started walking. She walked very quickly. In fact, so quickly that she maintained a distance with Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown also tried his best. He also walked as fast as he could, but he was not able to catch her because he was already in the age of 67. So she always maintained a distance, and she led him through the poorest part of Berlin. The poorest part of Berlin, that means the slum area, you can say, of Berlin. And she waited at the corner. She would wait, she would stop at the turning point. Wherever there was turning, she would stop there and wait for Dr. Brown to make sure that he was carefully watching her which direction she was moving to. When she was sure that Dr. Brown has already noticed which direction she is moving to, which turn she is taking, now she would move again. She would move ahead. Finally, series an old tenement house. A tenement house is the building especially constructed for renting, especially to the poor people. The poor people, they live on the rented house, and the builders, they construct buildings and they give on rents. So finally she reached an old tenement house, and when she made sure that Dr. Brown had already seen her, she started climbing the stairs. She started climbing the stairs, and while she was climbing the stairs, she looked as if she was flying up the stairs. She was not actually stepping on the flight of stairs. It looked as if she was flying up the stairs. When Dr. Brown saw her flying up the stairs, when he saw her fast movement, even on the stairs, he remembered his young days. He remembered 40 years before. 40 years before, he started his career. He started his practice as a surgeon, and at the time he was 27. 40 years earlier, he started his practice as a surgeon. At the time, he was 27 years of age, and in his young days, he was also so energetic, so active that he also used to climb the stairs so fast, like the little girl today. And this is how we come to know Dr. Brown's age. He started his career, note it, he started his career 40 years before. At the time, he was 27. That means 40 plus 27. His present age is 67. Physically, Dr. Brown is old. He is of 67, but mentally and spiritually, he is not old. He is still young. He says to himself, I can do it even today. That means his confidence level has not gone down even at this age. This is a devotion of a doctor towards his profession. This is a devotion of a professional, a true professional. Now, finally, he reached the top of the 5th floor. When he reached the top of the 5th floor, there was a dark hallway. A dark hallway, and the little girl was waiting for him. Dr. Brown approached near and asked, where is your mother? Then she pointed to a room. She pointed to a room and said, there she is. And the little girl, she thanked Dr. Brown. She said, thank you, doctor. You are a very kind-hearted person. You are a very good person. Then Dr. Brown also praised her. Dr. Brown said, you are a very obedient girl. You are a very obedient daughter to go in this dark, rainy night, cold, dark, rainy night to call me. You are really obedient. You are praiseworthy. He praised her. Now, Dr. Brown then entered the room, and in the semi-darkness, he saw there was only bed, and a woman was lying on the bed. He went near the bed, and he saw a lady lying sick, lying ill on the bed. He recognized her immediately as Elda. Now, how did Dr. Brown know her? So, Elda, 3 years before, Elda used to work in the same hospital as a maintenance staff where Dr. Brown was the head surgeon. Dr. Brown was the head surgeon in a hospital, in the same hospital that lady Elda used to work as a maintenance staff. Dr. Brown recognized her, and it was easy for him to find that she was suffering from pneumonia. He gave her some medicines and made her feel comfortable. Let us mark two noticeable things here. The first thing, Dr. Brown was a senior surgeon, a senior doctor, and a man of higher rank, yet he recognized Elda. He was familiar with Elda, a simple maintenance staff in the hospital where Dr. Brown also worked. Usually, people of higher rank, reputed persons, people of higher personality, they don't have concern for the lower class people, lower level people. Usually this is the normal condition. But Dr. Brown is not so. He is a good human being. He respects every individuals, whether the individual is of higher rank or lower rank, a child or a senior one. He doesn't care. He treats everyone equally, fairly, and honestly. Now, another noticeable point, that a good doctor not only prescribes medicines to the patients, a good doctor speaks the words, utters the words that develop, that raises the confidence level in the patients. That is another characteristics of Dr. Brown, because he made Elda feel comfortable with his words. Now, after the treatment was done, Dr. Brown asked her, "When did you come back to the city? You had gone to village 3 years earlier to live with your brother. When did you come back in this city?" Then Elda replied weakly, "I came back 3 months before. If it is 26, 3 months before I came back to this city, Berlin, after my little daughter." And as Elda said, "My little daughter, she stopped there." Then Dr. Brown said, "Yes, your daughter, your little daughter, she has grown up. And she went to call me. You sent her." Then Elda smiled and said, "My daughter, Dr. Brown, my daughter died 3 months before at the age of 7. A few days after she was 7, she died of flu." Means her daughter, whose name was Adelheid, that daughter, Adelheid, died 3 months earlier. She died of flu. Flu means cold. And after the death of her daughter, she came back. And it had been 3 months that she came back from the village. Dr. Brown, looking surprised, he said, "Who was the girl then who came to call me, who came to my house and requested me, urged me to come to see you?" Then Elda replied, "It might be someone else. You might have been confused. How can my daughter go to call you, go to your house? She's already dead." Dr. Brown looked around and he was surprised to see that the little girl, she was not there. She was not present over there. After that, Elda replied, "I have kept the shawl and shoes of my daughter, because the presence of the shoes and the shawl remind me of my daughter. They make me feel believe that my daughter is present somewhere in this house. So I have kept those two things in her memory, and you can see it is there pointing to a corner in the room. Dr. Brown went and he saw the shawl and the shoes. The shoes and shawl, they were wet. Notice, it was raining outside when little girl, now we know her name, Adelheid was the name of that little girl. Adelheid, when she had gone to call Dr. Brown, it was raining lightly, and so the shoes and the shawl, they were wet. Now, Dr. Brown was shocked, but he was speechless. He could not say anything to Elda because he was concerned about her health. It was a very strange experience. If Dr. Brown had told something, right, it would have affected her health. She was already ill. So Dr. Brown kept silent. He did not argue with Elda, and finally he touched once more the feverish head of. She was suffering from fever. With fever, her head was hot, you can say. It had temperature, high temperature. He touched her head and took his bag and came out. He left the house, closing the door behind him. Now let us talk on some important questions that might be asked in the examinations. So the first question that might be asked, is often asked, let's say, is describe the character of Dr. Brown. So while sketching the character of Dr. Brown, we can decorate his character with a number of adjectives. The first thing we can say, Dr. Brown was an experienced, an old, a senior personality, a famous surgeon in the hospital of Berlin. He was kind-hearted, helpful, cooperative, and above all, he was a positive-minded, a positive thinker. He was very, very religious, as we can notice when his wife asked him, tried to stop him from going to the patient's home. He replied, I do whatever God puts in front of me. It means he was a religious-minded person. Then he felt pity towards the condition of the little girl and was ready to go instantly. Did not care whether it was night or day or morning or evening. He did not care about his health. In fact, he was not young. He was old at the age of 67, and although he was old, physically old, mentally and spiritually, his spirit was not old. He was still active spiritually. He had confidence. That level of confidence made him perform his duty honestly, wholeheartedly and devotedly. That means he was a very good professional as well. A good professional is one who does not care about his comfort, who does not care about his luxury. He thinks, he worries about the people who depend, who expect, who need their service. Now, next thing we can say, Dr. Brown was a good human being. That means he was a senior doctor, a senior surgeon, a man of higher rank. I said earlier in the story also, but he was familiar with the people of lower class, lower rank. He had concern, regard, respect for every individual. Thanks for watching me. Do subscribe my channel if you have not done yet, and please click on the bell icon that will give you the notifications of my upcoming videos. We shall be meeting in the next videos. Thank you. Bye bye. Best of luck.